It began quietly, without any dramatic spark or grand expectation, the way most modern connections do, with a simple swipe on a dating app during an ordinary evening. I was not searching for love, nor was I avoiding it. I was simply open, curious, and cautiously hopeful in the way someone becomes after learning both how to love and how to be disappointed. When we matched, it felt unremarkable at first, just another conversation waiting to fade. Yet something subtle shifted almost immediately. Our conversations were easy. There was no pressure to impress, no performative charm, no awkward pauses filled with meaningless questions. He asked thoughtful things and seemed to genuinely listen to the answers. He remembered small details I mentioned casually and brought them up later as if they mattered. That attentiveness felt rare, and it slowly lowered my guard. I did not realize then how easily attention can feel like care, or how quickly consistency can create trust. Messages became part of my daily rhythm. Good mornings arrived softly, without demand. Evenings turned into long conversations that wandered from humor to vulnerability without effort. We spoke about our childhoods, our families, our disappointments, and the relationships that had shaped us. He spoke about wanting something real, something honest, something deeper than surface-level attraction. His words aligned with his behavior, and that alignment made me believe him. Emotional intimacy developed naturally. There was no rush, no pressure to define anything too quickly. When he shared something vulnerable, I met him with openness. When I spoke about my fears, he responded with reassurance and understanding. He told me that he did not open up easily, that he usually kept emotional distance, but with me it felt different. Those words settled inside me quietly, creating a sense of responsibility I did not ask for but accepted anyway. When we decided to meet, it felt less like a beginning and more like a continuation. There was no nervousness, no sense of performing for one another. Conversation flowed as if it had already been happening for months. Coffee turned into a long walk, which turned into dinner that neither of us planned but both wanted. Time passed unnoticed. When I went home that night, I felt calm, grounded, and unexpectedly safe. As we continued seeing each other, the connection deepened. Physical closeness grew slowly and respectfully. There was laughter, tenderness, and shared silence that felt comfortable rather than awkward. When intimacy finally happened, it felt like a natural progression rather than a turning point. I trusted that what we were building had substance, that whatever direction it took would be handled with honesty and care. The change did not come suddenly. It arrived quietly, disguised as distance. Messages became shorter, replies came later. The warmth I had grown used to began to fade. I told myself not to overthink it. People get busy, life intervenes. Still, something inside me felt unsettled. When I checked in gently, asking if everything was okay, my message went unanswered. Days passed. I tried again, this time asking directly for clarity. There was only silence. Being ghosted after intimacy is a particular kind of pain. It is not just rejection, but confusion layered with doubt. It makes you question your judgment, your instincts, and your understanding of reality. I replayed conversations endlessly, searching for signs I might have missed. I wondered whether the connection had only existed in my mind, whether I had imagined the depth and sincerity I thought we shared. What hurt most was not that he lost interest, but that he chose silence over honesty. A single message would have been enough. An uncomfortable conversation would have been enough. Instead, I was left suspended, forced to grieve something without knowing exactly what I was grieving. Closure became something I was expected to give myself without his participation. Weeks passed, and the sharpness of the pain softened. Eventually, I returned to the dating app, not because I felt ready for something new, but because I wanted to feel normal again. That was when I saw his profile reappear, unchanged, as if nothing had happened. Curiosity overtook caution. I created a fake profile, not out of revenge, but out of a need to understand. We matched again. This time, without emotional attachment, everything looked different. His charm felt rehearsed. His interest appeared selectively. He avoided accountability and redirected conversations away from emotional depth. Boundaries were brushed aside casually. The behaviors I once excused now stood out clearly. I realized that the version of him I had fallen for was shaped as much by my hope as by his words. As days passed, my anger faded and clarity took its place. By the time New Year's Eve approached, I felt detached enough to see the situation without emotion. On impulse, I invited him, through the fake profile, to a small gathering at an apartment I did not live in. He agreed immediately and traveled an hour and a half by public transport to get there. When he arrived, he sent a photo, standing outside, waiting. I told him I was coming down. I did not. The calls came first, then the messages. Confusion turned into frustration. Finally, he sent a message saying the least I could have done was be upfront and honest if I wasn't interested. The irony was undeniable. I replied once, calmly, revealing who I was, and pointing out that the honesty he demanded was the same honesty he denied me. I wished him a Happy New Year and blocked him. That moment gave me closure, not because it hurt him, but because it freed me. Closure doesn't always come from apologies or explanations. Sometimes it comes from understanding that someone else's behavior reflects their limitations, not your worth. Looking back now, I feel no anger, only gratitude for the lesson and the strength it revealed in me. The connection felt real to me, and that was enough. The ending was mine, and that is what mattered.